Might is right with a question mark. The right to protest in a new era of disruption and confrontation is the title of the latest report by the think tank Policy Exchange, and it looks at the way the police have been handling the recent protests in the UK. The report is authored by David Spencer and Sir Stephen Laws, and it argues that the new government and the police must prioritise the rights, well-being and interests of ordinary members of the public. Now, it's a 157 page report. I'm not going to go into all of it. There is an executive summary in the beginning of the report, which you can read. I'll put the link in the description below. But in this video, I want to look at the way the report demolishes the claim by Sir Mark Rowley that these protests have been largely peaceful. The report addresses two central questions. Do the police and other authorities use their existing powers effectively to deal with disruptive protests? Is the existing legal regime fit for purpose? And the answer to both questions, the report concludes, is no. The report's got a section, peaceful, in quotes, protest, question mark. And it says, Sir Mark Rowley, the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, has claimed while presenting to the Mayor of London's Policing Board on 5th of March 2024 that the majority of major protests have been peaceful. Such a characterisation is an inaccurate usage of the ordinary meaning of the word peaceful. While many of the recent pro-Palestinian protests may not have led to very widespread acts of violence, that is not the same as them being peaceful, the report argues. There have been calls for jihad and to globalise the intifada in these protests. Anti-Semitic placards have been seen at countless protests. Individuals were arrested. 15 individuals were arrested for terrorism offences, something the Metropolitan Police states is unheard of previously, with the majority on suspicion of support for proscribed organisations, namely Hamas. In at least one case, members of a large breakaway group fired fireworks at the police officers. And the report goes on to say that had the protest been genuinely peaceful, it would surely not have been necessary for police officers to escort a solitary counter-protester away from the fringes of a pro-Palestinian march. Obviously, they're referring to our friend Niak, who goes and holds a placard saying Hamas is terrorist. And at best, I mean, if the police don't arrest him, they have to sort of like move him away from protesters because they're not peaceful protesters, because they would have a go at him. Neither would it have been necessary for police officers to instruct those seeking to highlight the plight of those held hostage by the terrorist group Hamas to leave central London. It would surely not have been necessary for there to be substantial lines of public order police officers deployed to keep the marchers and counter-protesters apart, as has been at various protests. And he gives examples. For example, when there was a protest outside the Parliament, which led to the intimidation of the MPs that were debating a Gaza ceasefire. The report says, when MPs debated the Israel-Gaza conflict in February 2024, and we made a video about this as well, it's on my YouTube channel, the director of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign reportedly told the gathering crowd that we want so many of you to come that they will have to lock the doors of Parliament itself. This type of statement leads to the questions, how can they be defined as mostly peaceful? And are some activists willing to seek to bend members of Parliament to their will other than through legitimate and lawful means, i.e. by intimidation? It gives examples of protesters going outside MPs' houses, being disruptive to their neighbours, intimidating members of the Parliament at their home, intimidating their families. How can they be peaceful, Sir Mark Rowley? And even Matt Twist, the Assistant Commissioner to the Metropolitan Police, has admitted that on every occasion so far we've found offences of hate crime supporting a proscribed organisation and people looking to intimidate. And the same Matt Twist has even admitted that they have made mistakes. Looking back on how the protests have been handled, they have made mistakes. Sort of thing that we've been saying on this channel ever since these protests started. Matt Twist says, we know we didn't get everything right, adding that the police could have made arrests more quickly. Other examples that proves Mark Rowley was talking nonsense when he was saying the protests have been largely peaceful. One of the examples is about a protest outside a government office where protesters wearing masks and looking intimidating had blocked the entrance to the office so civil servants couldn't go to their office. How can that be peaceful? Okay, maybe no one was physically hurt, but the fact that you're intimidating people and you're stopping people from going to their work, to their office, that's not peaceful, is it, Sir Mark Rowley? Now, why isn't anyone putting these questions to Sir Mark Rowley? Why are there no press conferences? Why are there no interviews from the media challenging Mark Rowley about his claim that the protests have been largely peaceful, with the questions that have been asked in this report, or with the examples that they've given in this report? And this report has been endorsed by the likes of Lord Hogan Howe, former Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police Service, Right Honourable Lord West of Spithead, former Parliamentary Under Secretary of State for Security and Counter-Terrorism and Minister of Cyber Security, Lord Fawkes, former Minister of State for Justice and Recorder of the Crown Court, Lord Wilson of Tredegar, former Parliamentary Under Secretary of State for Justice. It's been endorsed by the former Minister of State at the Home Office. It's been endorsed by Lord Bew, I think, the former chair of the Committee on Standards in Public Life and Emeritus Professor of Politics at Queen's University in Belfast. And I recommend you read the report, or at least part of it if you can. As I say, it's a 157-page report, and it's had wide publicity in the media as well. And it's time for Sir Mark Rowley to explain his earlier statement back in March as to why he thought these protests have been largely peaceful.